Welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today we're going to be taking a look at Inertial Drift on the Nintendo Switch. This one, it's a racer, but it's out to try something just a little bit different by tackling the world of drift racing. But can it deliver and can it get pole position? That's what I'm here to find out. So hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. So story, and yes, Inertial Drift tries its hand at story, and for the most part, I'm going to put it up front, it absolutely misses. We'll keep this quick focus on gameplay, but the idea here in story, you choose between one of four friends who are out on like a road trip of sorts, racing each other and building up to a big event. Some of the group are excited, some of the group doubt their skills, and so on. It's a cliched mess for the most part, and I made the mistake of choosing Edward. Edward is a self-involved idiot who doubts himself at nearly every turn and never develops beyond this. Can I do this? I don't know if I want this. Should I do this? Yes, you can do it, Edward. You've just flew around 10 tracks at 100 miles an hour where it appeared your car had ice skates instead of wheels. This self-doubt would have been fine as a starting point, but where the characters struggle here is where they start is where they end. The same old loop of confidence, no drive, self-doubt, or just a happy-go-lucky attitude depending on your character choice. It never manages to break free of where they begin and that kind of self-involvement. Also, why do so many other characters have backpacks? What is in this bag? Clearly you're standing next to your car, surely you could leave it in there. Weird point, I know, but it feels like a genre master of kids who just finished for the day at college in some visual novel and a racer, and that really didn't work for me. Likewise, this lackluster writing then bleeds through to the gameplay as quotes will pop up on the screen as you compete with each other, and you're gonna get such gems as well. You passed me, you were so quick on that turn, you're better than I expected. Now I don't know about you, but when you compete you don't normally congratulate your opponent for passing you. It took away the weight of the moment, and it very much almost felt like my friends were giving me a chance, and that's not how you want to feel. So gameplay and first, the controls, love them. Inertial Drift's control scheme is what makes it stand out using a twin stick implementation. While it will take some getting used to, once you get it, it just feels super intuitive. Works like this: the right stick, it commences the drift, it basically controls the back of the car and throws it out. You then use the left stick for micro adjustments as you fire around these corners. It's impressive how good it feels once you get the hang of it, because it's so unusual seeing the left stick do literally near to nothing, feeling actually initially almost like there's a problem with your car. You just gotta practice. Likewise here, every single vehicle in the game feels completely different and will require a slightly different approach from you, and that's determined by the usual car specs, so think like handling, speed, drift and so on. It's very much about finding the right car for you. Now this isn't a fault of the game, but some of the cars, they do require you to use the brake when starting a drift or to bring that tail in, and it's very clear where analog triggers would have been very beneficial, so you could have had more flexibility, pressed it gently. The Pro controllers, the Joy-Cons, 0 to 100, no in between, so you'll see the car completely fly out, and you're going to need to work against that. It does mean some cars will be best divided unless you have a whole lot of patience. I want to make this clear though, as I said, it's not a fault of the game, it's a fault of the Switch. Car wise though, gotta give it to Inertial Drift, a solid selection, and rarely do we see such huge jumps in handling. It's a really impressive feature. Some modes, and we get 5 story, that takes you to 5 different locations made up of 4 races. Beat it, you'll even unlock a new game plus attached to each of the 4 characters. Challenge mode here, you choose a car and beat a given objective. Think fastest time or most drift time. The more you beat here, the more you unlock. Arcade mode, which is just free play. Grand Prix, here you choose a car and it gives 5 races assigned to it to face off against in varying disciplines. And then finally, to round out the package, we got local play and online play. These modes will then take place over 20 tracks, but I will say it's more like 5 tracks with 4 variations on each, with a slight change to maybe the sections you're racing over or the length. Finally, the event types you can take part in, actually 7. We get practice, time attack, ghost battle, which is simply beat the ghost lap of an opponent, standard race, which is 1v1, duel, which awards points to the racer that's leading the lap and the one with the most points wins, style then, and that's just that, drift a whole lot, grind walls to earn points, and then any of these modes that are time based additionally do come with local and global leaderboards for those competitive folks out there. By far the biggest problem with this game for me, it's the races themselves, those against competition. It's limited to 1v1, meaning the excitement of a packed field very much is lost. That's not the biggest problem though. With how tight some of these tracks are, it kind of makes sense, but it's the implementation of your competition. I come to a big turn, I see a gap, and I see a couple opportunities. I can either slam into the side of my opponent to get them out the way, or squeeze my way through that gap. I decided to go for the slam because I'll be the first to admit I'm not the cleanest of racers out there, that is for sure. I approach, I prepare my attack, and then I fly straight through them. Every car here is a ghost with zero ability to connect with them. You just pass straight through them, and there for me went all the excitement. The fun in a racer for me, it's looking for that brief moment of opportunity, finding a gap or slamming them off the road if needed. Like I said, I'm that guy. Here, all that tension, all that strategy though is gone. You just drive straight through them like Casper the Ghost is somehow involved with my car. No one talks about that time they had a 5-second lead over their opponent in a racer. They talk about that moment they took over on the last turn to win or squeeze past them at the very last second, and for me, that really felt underwhelming. This was really the moment I realised the main draw with Inertial Drift, it's time trials, because story and challenges, they can be wrapped up in maybe 4 to 5 hours, and then the 1v1 races, they'd lost all their appeal for me. Then a few smaller points, car customization, there is none. Would have been nice to have seen a few options in here, and then also camera viewpoints, there's 0, just the one you see in the gameplay right now. Finally then, for gameplay, I will say the frame rate's not quite locked, but it's targeting 30, and occasionally you will see it drop to around 28. Be the first to say this, it's a tiny amount, but you do still visibly notice it and feel a small stutter. Not a huge issue, but you'll no doubt notice it if you do jump in. So overall on the gameplay front, for me, a fantastic control scheme is very much let down by a lack of reason to now head back, unless you're a fan of time trials. That's very much who it feels like it was designed for. Stories, challenges I've wrapped up now, and the races. Down to that ghost car issue, I feel no desire to really give it another go. So visually it's stunning, taking almost what seems to be a realistic world and going over it with some hard black lines for a cel shaded style. The varieties on the track really are nice, from wooded areas to snow covered locations to think more like, California life. Loved nearly everything about the visuals, even the character models, they do feel a little out of place with the world, and they definitely look like they stumbled in from high school, but yeah. That said, I can still appreciate the artwork I see. The lighting is really what tops it off for me though, adding a nice bit of depth to the image. My favourite areas though, 2 things. The cars look great, especially when they slide sideways into a drift in all their kind of glory. And then the track marks and brake lights, these burn into the track and world, and it's a great approach to a race line where now on the next lap you're going to be able to see where you use those brakes and maybe correct any mistakes, or even try and work on optimizing your approach. Complaints, not too much. The odd low detail texture here and there, some minor clipping with some of the outer edges of the track, a lack of damage models, which I think would have been really cool to have shown me all the mistakes I was making. And then even though I complimented the shadow work, I also think there's one problem. Like I say, 99% is good, but I think it would have been nice to have done a little bit more work under the car. It would have helped it almost feel like the weight. It kind of looks like when you're looking from behind, like the car is floating, as you can't see the wheels on any of the cars from behind. So audio then, the cars sound good, engines roar, brakes screech, we have the odd collision sound, even if those are a little weak. It's the music though, it's not great, it's okay, it's kind of going for that 90s vibe, like something you'd hear almost in a coffee shop, entry level EDM or borderline techno. I can see the style it was going for, it just wasn't that memorable, and it all feels a little on the repetitive side. That said, there is the rare occasion where 1 or 2 tracks will jump out to you, so it's not the worst I've ever heard, but it's definitely not going to be jumping out to you. It just kind of lacks the energy and the excitement of the moment you are in. So the final verdict on Inertial Drift is an example of a great control scheme and idea that they've built around, understandably, but that's also the problem. Everything around it doesn't really bring much to the experience. The story is annoying at best, with a cast of characters that were, for the most part, lacking. The modes, they're okay, but nothing to, scream and shout about. The tracks, it gives you the impression of a decent count at first, but once you dig in, you actually realise there's a lot of repetition here. And then perhaps the biggest issue for me, it gives the impression there's competitive race modes, But the ghost cars immediately destroyed that for me, because racing, drifting, it isn't just about going fast, but identifying those opportunities to pass, making that perfect turn, or even wiping your opponent out. Once I noticed this, I gotta say it was seriously underwhelming, and I knew at that point this one was mainly built out for time trial fans and not really those looking for competitive racing. The saving piece for this one though, I gotta say, as a race fan, it's one of the best control schemes I've seen in a long time, and I cannot wait to see where they take this next, because honestly, it really is a game changer. Today I'm giving Inertial Drift on the Nintendo Switch an above average 6 out of 10. I've been hard on this one, but I just see so much potential, and then these misses in execution. This could have so easily been corrected though, you know, switch out story for maybe some sort of competitive career, but then put the racers on the track with me and let me go to war, and maybe even increase it from 1v1 to like a 6, 7, 8 car field. Thanks for watching. Will you be adding this one to the collection? Race fans, it is worth looking at just for that control scheme. Everyone else, I'd probably say right now, wait on a sale. With that then, a huge shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Truly is appreciated, and it helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.